This is News Night, where we go above and beyond the headlines. I'm Pia Ontiveros. Tonight on the program, the extent of devastation from Typhoon Odette is getting clearer. Deaths are rising and damage to structures mounting as a number of nations and businesses extend help to the victims. 4 days before Christmas, and we're seeing long lines at airports and bus terminals as Filipinos rush to catch a trip back home before the holiday weekend. And the excitement among Potterheads building up for a much-awaited holiday reunion will give you a sneak peek to Harry, Hermione, and Ron's return to Hogwarts. It's clearly a somber Christmas for many families in the Visayas and Mindanao who suffered in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette as they come to grips with the death of loved ones. The body count is now over 150. Data from the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council shows most of the fatalities were from the provinces of Bohol and Cebu. 275 are injured, 37 are missing. But records from the Philippine National Police show nearly 400 people died, more than 500 injured, and 56 others missing. The estimated cost of damaged infrastructure has now reached nearly 449 million pesos, while damage to agriculture is pegged at 525 million pesos. The Agriculture Department has set the release of nearly 2 billion pesos in emergency funds to rehabilitate farms and coastal communities. It has also bumped up the budget for loan assistance by 5 times from 100 million pesos initially. About 13,000 affected farmers and fisherfolk can borrow up to 25,000 pesos at zero interest payable in 5 years. The agency says coastal villages hit by Odette will also be given fishing nets and bangkas for livelihood.
Through the provincial office or the municipal office concerned, LGU concerned, or the farmers groups concerned, PBM po yan. Lahat ng mga agencies are able to get quick response fund. Meron pong ganun, a pool of funds. The secretary and sought the approval of the president. So okay na po yung 1 billion namin. Pag kailangan pa, i-replenish na lang.
While national disaster response officials are consolidating reports from typhoon-affected areas, local governments are reporting higher casualty counts. In Bohol, authorities there say the death toll is now at 97. Our Chrissy Dimatulak joins us live from Tagbilaran City. Chrissy, what is the situation like there?
Pia, Typhoon Odette's onslaught was a harrowing experience for many of the locals here. In Panglao, Bohol, some fishermen even showed us their boats completely destroyed by the storm. Some would even say that Odette was worse than Super Typhoon Yolanda.
Si Bagyong Odette.
Masakit mo. Dalawang bangka yung ko, ma'am, na anong tawag sa Bisaya as Tagalog? Nadurog. Tsaka yung maliit ko pang panagat, pang pangisda na durog din.
Siyempre po, natatakot, kinakabahan, yung bangka namin, ano naman nangyari.
Hindi ko nanginginig ako sa takot kasi naririnig mo yung lakas ng hangin, yung impact niya sa bahay, parang kumakalabog sa sobrang lakas ng hangin kasi nasa second floor ako. Tapos lalo nang makita ko yung dagat, naalala ko yung Tacloban.
Pia, many areas in Bohol remain off the grid, with power and communication lines still out. Water supply is also a huge problem. The Bureau of Fire Protection is constantly making the rounds to supply residents with water. Local disaster officials peg the death toll in Bohol at 97, but that number is still not reflected in the official tally of the NDRRMC, since these figures have yet to be validated. Residents are appealing for aid from the local government. Rebuilding may take some time for many Boholanos, but they draw strength and hope from one another. Back to you, Pia.
Chrissy, are there still people in evacuation centers?
Yes, Pia, according to disaster officials, there are still some residents who are currently staying in evacuation centers, specifically in the northern parts of the province. These include the town of Ubay, Inabanga, and President CPG Islands. Back to you, Pia.
Chrissy Dimatulak there reporting from Bohol. Let's now go to Cebu, where thousands of displaced people are now occupying hotel rooms. Our Cebu-based correspondent Dale Israel joins us on the phone. Tell us more, Dale.
Oo, and mine.
Dale? Dale? Right, we're going to get back to Dale Israel there in Cebu for that story. In the meantime, countries and private groups are pitching in to help typhoon affect the areas as victims continue to appeal for aid. The United Kingdom pledged nearly 50 million pesos to the Philippine Red Cross to support those in need of assistance. Canada will also course financial aid through the humanitarian organization, expressing sympathies to all affected. The United States providing emergency shelter assistance to some 3,000 families. 10,000 food packs will also be delivered to Butuan City in Agusan del Norte. Around 20,000 food packs from China are on their way to devastated areas. Each pack contains 5 kilograms of rice, 10 canned goods, and 10 noodle packs. China also handing out nearly 5 million kilograms of rice in cooperation with the Social Welfare Department. Japan also tapped the national government to deliver relief goods as well as generators, tents, sleeping pads, and water containers. Businesses both here and abroad also lending a helping hand. Tech giant Apple vowed to contribute to relief, recovery, and long-term rebuilding efforts in the country. Diversified conglomerate San Miguel Corporation also distributed 30 million pesos worth of food aid. The firm dispatched fuel stocks at its Petron installations and provided water for free for washing and other purposes in Mandaue in Cebu. SMC President and CEO Ramon Ang vowed to continue relief efforts, also donating 1 million pesos in his personal capacity. In the meantime, as typhoon victims pick up the pieces, Senator Francis Tolentino is urging housing authorities to utilize fallen coconut trees as construction materials to help in repairing and rebuilding destroyed homes. The lawmaker visited Siargao Island on Monday. The typhoon displaced nearly 500,000 people in the central and southern regions just days before Christmas. The Armed Forces of the Philippines will not be celebrating its anniversary this year. The AFP says it will instead focus on providing humanitarian assistance and relief to victims of Typhoon Odette. The Armed Forces was supposed to hold a parade and flyby today to mark its 86th founding anniversary. Up ahead on Newsnight, the World Health Organization is discouraging holiday gatherings for now. And Harry, Ron, and Hermione are returning to Hogwarts. We'll give you a sneak peek of their much-awaited reunion. Stay tuned.
Ringo Honasan po. Sa pagbangon ng mga Pilipino, saludo ako sa mga taong patuloy na humaharap sa hamon ng pagbabago.
Bilang isang ina, handa akong gawin ang lahat para sa kaligtasan ng aking mga anak.
Pandemya man, tuloy pa rin ang serbisyo para malinis ang kapaligiran.
Serbisyong publiko para sa kaligtasan ng lahat.
Sa panahon ng krisis, ikaw, ako, magtulungan tayo. Ringo Honasan po. Saludo ako sa Pilipino.
Merry Christmas ang bati, lahat tayo ay magdiwang.
Ang Pasko mo'y panahon sa pagmaya o paghatag og kalipay sa atong mga mahal sa kinabuhi o sa atong isig katao. Kini ang inyong alagad sa dakbayan sa dapitan si Bimbim Amoy ng hinaot. Nga unta luyo ning atong kahimtang karon. Nga unta ana kita sa luwas sa atong panglawas aron sa mabulukong pagsaulog sa pagkatao ning atong manunubos nga si Jesus. Maayong Pasko ug masanagong bagong tuig kaninyong tanan. Daghang salamat.
Oras ay nag-aawitan, Merry Christmas, o kasayang tunay.
Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
The image of Santo Niño was among the gifts presented to Queen Juana, wife of Raha Humalbon before her baptism. The cross and the image of the Blessed Mother were the other gifts given to her according to Antonio Pigafetta.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station.
Kalandraka! Tulumanon nga kurbahinam sa mga suking tigpaminaw, mga tigmo nga nagtangag sa pinyong makalingaw. Kalandrakas, musabwag-usab sa mga impormasyon nga may kalambigitan sa kalambuan o kayuhan sa katawan. Kalandrakas, mualagad kaninyo. Kalandrakas.
DXKD, Dipolo, Radyo
delicious, right, Chef?
That's right. And usually, to achieve that wonderful and tasty meat, it would take about 4 to 6 hours to slow cook. However, today, we are going to show you a life hack so you can easily enjoy these birria tacos at home in under an hour. Using, of course, our Pure Foods corned beef.
You guys are gonna love this, and you can even make this a fun family activity for the weekend, and Chef here will show you exactly how it's done. Let's go, Chef.
All right, so here are the ingredients. Now let's prepare first the filling and its sauce. Heat oil in a pan and then saute garlic and onions until onions are tender. Add tomato paste and continue to saute. Add the corned beef and spices and continue sauteing for about a minute. Add crushed tomatoes, water, and simmer for 10 minutes over low heat, stirring occasionally. Add soy sauce and sugar. Then lastly, add the cilantro. Now strain to separate the corned beef filling from the dipping sauce. To make the tacos, mix all the ingredients until smooth and knead for about 15 minutes. Divide the dough into 15 small balls and rest this for about 30 minutes. Now roll out each ball into 6-inch diameter pieces. Meanwhile, heat the pan on high and then cook each taco for about 30 seconds on each side. Now to assemble, place every 2 tablespoons of corned beef filling on each taco and then garnish with extra cilantro. Now serve this with its sauce and lime wedges.
And now for my favorite part, the taste test. Okay, I want to try this. So how do I do this, Chef? Gotta get the sauce.
Yes.
Gotta get all the sauce.
Lots of the sauce.
It's so good.
I'm glad you like
My
it.
kids and hubby will definitely enjoy this wonderful birria. Oh my God, it's like the real thing.
Alam mo naman, ang Pure Foods corned beef takes care of the pure sarap families are craving for.
I agree with you there, and this recipe is so enjoyable to make, and you end up with such a yummy dish. So mommies, you should all try this at home. So right now, stock up on your supply run, stock on Pure Foods corned beef, which is available in all leading supermarkets, and you can even add to cart Pure Foods corned beef on your favorite e-commerce sites, Lazada and Shopee, or buy online at the SMC.
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Let's go back to Cebu, where thousands of displaced people are now occupying hotel rooms. Our Cebu-based correspondent Dale Israel joins us on the phone. Dale, tell us more.
Yes, Pia, aside from serving as quarantine facilities, hotels here in Cebu are also being used as temporary shelters by those displaced by Typhoon Odette. As many as 50,000 households were affected by the typhoon, according to local disaster officials. Typhoon victims staying in hotels are separated from those returning Cebu residents who undergo quarantine. Hotels in Cebu are now fully booked and have limited resources because of the calamity. In the words of Governor Gwen Garcia, there is a crisis situation in the province in terms of hotel spaces too, which is why she issued an executive order which seeks to free up hotel rooms and prioritize Cebuanos in using those rooms. And because of that executive order, international arrivals in the province will be limited only to returning overseas Filipinos who are Cebu residents. That's starting December 23 until January 3. Cebu will not allow entry to non-residents who are advised to book their flights either in Manila or other airports. Garcia says 80% of those who arrive at the Mactan Cebu International Airport and occupy most of the hotel rooms are non-Cebu residents. The governor is also reimposing swab upon arrival policy, which previously did not conform to the protocols of the interagency task force. Arriving passengers need to present an ID and proof of residency in Cebu. Back to you, Pia.
Dale Israel there reporting. The holiday travel rush has begun with passengers trooping to the Ninoy Aquino International Airport days before Christmas. Meanwhile, the Siargao and Surigao airports still closed to commercial flights in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette. CNR Ganghel reports.
Long lines form at check-in counters at NAIA Terminal 3 as people leave to spend Christmas in their hometowns. The process takes longer than usual as airline personnel check other documents such as COVID-19 vaccination cards or RT-PCR test results depending on the destination. It is a similar site at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange or PTEX for bus trips for the provinces. Marife Dañas and her son were early for their 7 a.m. flight when they arrived at the airport at 4 a.m. But to their surprise, the plane left for Davao at 4 a.m. Dañas says they'll just spend the night at the airport so they won't miss their flight the next day.
Naiwanan po kami ng flight. Kasi nagbago yung schedule, hindi namin natanggap yung email. Hintayin na lang namin hanggang bukas.
Some passengers arrived 6 hours before the scheduled flight in anticipation of long lines and sudden changes in schedule.
5 o'clock po, pero nakita ko po sa news na medyo mahaba po yung pila kaya inagahan ko na lang po.
While airports in areas hit by Typhoon Odette have reopened, gateways in Surigao and Siargao Island are still closed. Civil Aviation Authority spokesperson Eric Apolonio says personnel are assessing the damage so repairs can begin immediately.
Immediate ginagawa na namin because madaming terminal building, so hindi na pwede mag-accommodate ng commercial flight. Only yung mga military, medical evacuation, because walang hindi ma-accommodate kung ano yung mga terminal.
Before going to the airport, passengers are advised to check their emails and the social media accounts of their airlines to stay updated on possible changes in flight schedules. Patience will also be a virtue in dealing with long lines and possible delays. Cian Arcangel, CNN, Philippines.
A check on the weather now. Pag-asa forecasts a low-pressure area far east of Mindanao to enter the country's monitoring area by Thursday. The Weather Bureau says the LPA has a slim chance of developing into a tropical depression. But this, along with the northeast monsoon, may bring rains in eastern Visayas and northeastern Mindanao on Christmas Day, areas that are still reeling from the heavy damage brought by Typhoon Odette. Meantime, the northeast monsoon continues to affect parts of the country. It will bring partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rains in Metro Manila, Central Luzon, the Cordillera and Ilocos regions, and parts of Cagayan Valley. In COVID-related headlines overseas, the World Health Organization is urging everyone to again put holiday gatherings on hold for now, saying 2022 must be the year we end the pandemic. As the Omicron variant spreads fast globally, the WHO says increased social gatherings will lead to more cases and deaths, as well as overwhelm hospitals. The agency is calling on all of us to make difficult decisions to protect ourselves and others, saying, quote, "An event canceled is better than a life canceled." In the United States, Omicron is now the dominant variant, accounting for over 73% of new cases less than 3 weeks after the first was reported. The country's first confirmed Omicron-related death was logged in the state of Texas. An unvaccinated man in his 50s who was previously infected and had underlying health conditions. Scientists still await data about the new variant severity in the U.S. compared to others. And back here at home, the country logs 168 new COVID-19 cases. This is the lowest single-day tally since May 2020, but the figure excludes data from 24 laboratories. This brings the total tally to over 2.8 million. Straight ahead, it is back to Hogwarts for the Harry Potter cast. Find out who to expect for their 20th anniversary reunion special.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. DXTV Dipolo Radio Ronda.
Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
Ferdinand Magellan died in the hands of Dato Lapu-Lapu in the Battle of Mactan. Spanish navigator Juan Sebastian Elcano took command of the voyage, which finally reached the Spice Islands. To date, the expedition is also known as Magellan-Elcano Expedition.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station.
Honorable Angel Halusos Carrion, Batanon, Buutan ug Malagaron, City Councilor of the Pitan City, Chairman, Committee on Tourism, Committee on Labor, Committee on Child Welfare and Development. Honorable Angel Halusos Carrion, Batanon, Buutan ug Malagaron, City Councilor of the Pitan City.
DXKD Ronda Balita. Mga balitang may kamatuuran, way gidapigan o hilisgutanan sa katawhan. DXKD Ronda Balita. Mga labas nga mga balita gikan sa sinaligang mga tinugdan. Balitang hinimo sa lawak balitaanan. Diin inyong madungog ang mga balitang lokal, regional, national o international o uban pang may kalabutan sa atong kadiliman. Gihatod kaninyo live gikan sa RPN DXKD Radio Ronda Broadcast Center. DXKD Ronda Balita. Inyong madungog matag adlang Lunes hangtod Biyernes alas 12 hangtod sa alas 2 sa kahaponon ug makita usab sa RPN DXKD Dipolog Facebook page, YouTube ug sa Twitter. DXKD Ronda Balita.
DXKD Dipolo Radio Ronda.
Pangarap ng bawat Pilipino, hangarin ng Northern Cement.
Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Pinalaki ng Northern Cement ang kapasidad ng kanilang planta para steady ang supply ng sementong tigasin. Northern Cement Max Plus, Supreme at Max Pro.
Ahon, bangon, sulong.
Ang tatay ko, ginawang ligtas, panatag at maayos ang buong bayan.
Wala yan sa tatay ko. Ibinalik ang ganda ng Boracay.
Mas magaling yung tatay ko. Nakamit niya ang kapayapaan sa Mindanao.
Ang tatay ko, sinagot ang ospital at papagamot ko.
Sino yung tatay ko?
Ang tatay ko.
Tatay ko.
Ang tatay ko?
Si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong.
Si Tatay Digong?
Siya ang tatay ko.
Taas noo nating pagmalaki, tayo ay Pilipino.
The new Manila International Airport project is a game changer for the Philippines. Once completed, the world-class airport would have an initial capacity of 35 million passengers annually. Also known as the Bulacan Airport, it is projected to house about 100 million passengers per year. This will help decongest Ninoy Aquino International Airport, the main entry and exit point to Manila for air travelers. The project will be built on an over 2,500-hectare property in Bulacan, Bulacan. This will include various components, such as airfield facilities, terminal buildings, airport and airline support facilities, access roads, parking facilities, utilities, airport city, and other ancillary facilities. Seen to create over 1 million direct and indirect jobs. The new Manila International Airport will boost the local economies of Bulacan and its neighboring provinces. It is also expected to raise the country's profile and competitiveness as an investment and tourist destination.
Welcome back. Harry Potter fans, get ready for a most magical and emotional reunion. The first trailer for the franchise's 20th anniversary special, Return to Hogwarts, came out today. Cast members from the 8 films look back on bringing the world-famous books to the screen. Fans also get to witness the homecoming of iconic wizarding trio Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint.
There's something about Harry Potter that makes life richer.
It's a strong bond that we'll always have. We're family, and we will always be part of each other's life.
The Harry Potter 20th anniversary Return to Hogwarts special begins streaming January 1st on HBO Go, available via Sky. Newsnight brings you a Christmas tradition. The man behind a number of classical Filipino carols joins me for a special episode, Jose Marichan, together with his children.
I want to thank you sincerely for having us every year, year after year. And, you know, it's something that we look forward to every year.
This Christmas, what is it going to be like? Will you get together with the kids and the grandkids? Of course, given the pandemic, and then we have this new variant coming in. What are your plans?
Well, you know, I always stress upon my children that, especially because of this pandemic, the realization that the spirit of Christmas is giving and sharing. And so what better way, what better time to live that spirit of Christmas than now, because a lot of our people are suffering, a lot of people are unemployed, underemployed.
Can you share with us what gifts are you giving each other, if that's if that's okay?
Okay, so kids, what are you going to give mommy and daddy this Christmas?
Baliktad ko nga naman. Oo nga naman. Find out about those gifts and more on Thursday, December 23 at 6 p.m. And on that same day, another Christmas tradition on CNN Philippines. The Bukas Palad Music Ministry will share meaningful songs that capture the essence of the Yuletide season.
Jesus Christ is born in Bethlehem today. Behold the gentle waters stay. Our lives are yours today. Receive our praise to the end. See us raise our arms. Lord Jesus, take our wrongs and bring us to the joy of Christmas today.
Catch them live Thursday on news.ph at 7 p.m. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. Later, I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond headlines.
Receive our praise to the end. See us raise our arms. Lord Jesus, take our wrongs and bring us to the joy of Christmas today. RPN Radio Philippines Network. DXTV Dipolo Radio Ronda.
Loren Legarda po. 18 years akong senador at nagsulong ng mga batas na nakakatulong sa mga nangangailangan. Free college education law.
Para sa aming edukasyon.
MSME law.
Batas para sa aming kabuhayan.
Climate Change Act.
Mga batas para sa kalikasan at climate change.
Mga batas na ginawa ko na napapakinabangan ngayon. Sana makatulong pa ako sa mas marami.
Loren Legarda.
This is a paid advertisement.
Quincentenary Faith Rewind.
The image of Santo Niño may have come from Michelin, Flanders, now part of Belgium. There are surviving images that resemble the one in Cebu from 16th century Flanders. King Charles I of Spain grew in Flanders and must have obtained and given images of the Santo Niño for the expedition.
KBP marks 500 years of Christianity and this station.
Dapitan City Councilor Jezebel Bing Balisado, konsehal sa Dakbayan sa Dapitan nga dali duulon og maabibihon sa iyang mga katawhan. Konsehal Bing Balisado maluluyon og matinabangon sa tanang higayon. Konsehal Bing Balisado sa Dakbayan sa Dapitan.
Mas pinalawak,
Mas pinalakas RPN sa iba't ibang mga lalawigan. DZRL Bataan, DZBS Baguio, DZKI Iriga, DYKB Bacolod, DYKC Cebu, DXKS Surigao, DXKD Dipolo, DXKO Cagayan de Oro, DXKT Davao, DXKP Pagadian, DXXX Zamboanga, DXDX General Santos.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, DXKD Dipolo Radio Ronda, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
He currently chairs the Senate Committee on Energy and Basic Education. He wants to serve in the upper chamber for another 6 years. Senator Sherwin Gatchalian is seeking re-election. We now get up close with the senator about his platforms and plans. Senator Win, thank you so much for joining us on this program. Pass or fail the first few days of the pilot phase of face-to-face classes in 100 public schools?
My grade will be pass. I went to two provinces to look at the setup. I went to Zambales and also to Quezon. And I have to give credit where credit is due. The teachers, principals, superintendents, they all did a good job in preparing. In fact, they have much stricter health protocols in our schools compared to some hospitals. And they made do with whatever they had to make sure that our children are safe going back to school. And this is a learning process for us. And I'm pushing to increase the number of pilot schools, hopefully more than 1,000 across the different parts of our country.
If you are re-elected, how do you plan to improve the educational system?
Rico, first on the agenda is to invest in our teachers. Our teachers is the most important educational input that we can invest on. And we have very good teachers, we have dedicated teachers. In fact, during the pandemic, Rico, I've seen firsthand their sacrifices in order to bring education to the homes of our learners. But we need to support them. Number one, we need to make sure that they get also the best education possible during their college days. And then we support them with competitive benefits and salaries, because we're still very far off compared to Singapore, compared to Malaysia, even Thailand. We're very far off in terms of salaries and benefits. And make sure that they get the necessary training while they are teaching, because we need to improve their competencies and upgrade their skills during their service in government.
Senator Win, you chair the Senate Energy Committee, and currently what is being discussed is the sale of the Malampaya deal to Odena of Dennis Uy. Should this deal be undone?
Well, Rico, I'll put my other hat, from basic education to the Energy Committee. In my analysis and my review of all the documents, I call this deal Lutong Macau, because the evaluation that is supposed to be conducted in order to assure all of us that the new operators qualified was tweaked in order for Udena to get this transaction. And I showed in many instances that in terms of the legal, in terms of the technical, and in terms of the financial, they evaluated two separate companies. So how can you approve a transaction wherein you evaluated two separate companies? And that's not what is prescribed under the law and what is prescribed under the Department Circular of DOT. So in my opinion, this evaluation is defective. Therefore, the approval is invalid. And we're now studying, Rico, on how to move forward with this invalid approval.
So if it's an invalid approval and it is undone, what happens next?
This is where the the complexity comes in. Malampaya is an ongoing concern. Malampaya is an operating concern. It supplies 4 million homes, about 1/5 of our energy needs here in Luzon. So we need to study carefully that operations will not be hampered. What's important right now is electricity, the continuous flow of electricity to our homes. And we need to isolate this whole doubtful process from the operations of Malampaya, because we need to keep Malampaya running.
The development of the energy sector, Senator Win, was not a priority of the Duterte administration over the past 5 years. And the looming energy crisis is giving a lot of goosebumps to Filipino consumers, businesses, and the industry itself. What needs to be done to ensure power supply security for our kababayans?
Well, Rico, you hit the nail on its head. I've seen what we call the energy sufficiency of our country. Before, we're at a high of about 55% self-sufficient. We're now at around 50%, and it will go below 50% because with the impending depletion of Malampaya, we have no choice but to import natural gas. So it will go below 50%, meaning we'll be importing more than 50% of our energy needs. So to increase our self-sufficiency, we have to use what we have. No? Number one is renewable energy. We have about 30,000 megawatts of potential renewable energy that we can explore in the country, or we can maximize. And then we should continue to explore oil and gas. The West Philippine Sea is a vast area of potential, of oil and gas potential. And we only have one, no? Malampaya operating. We can have more of that in the West Philippine Sea.
From education to energy, Senator Win, I want us to take a look at the political drama that took place over the weekend at the Commission on Elections and all the substitutions. You aspired to be the Vice President of Sara Duterte if she ran for President. Are you disappointed that she did not run for the presidency?
Well, I respect her decision, Rico. And for me, what's important is she ran for a national post. When I was vying for her vice presidency, I vied for her vice president because I believe in her track record, her experience, and also her character. I've worked with her when we were mayors before. We were both mayors at one point, and I've worked with her closely, especially in the League of Cities, and I've seen her diligence and her firmness when it comes to governance. So I believe in her capability, and what's important is now she's vying for a top post, and I think she'll be good for the country.
And who will you support for president, Senator Win?
We're still talking about that in our party, Rico. We're still waiting. November 15 just passed, and we need to evaluate very closely our decisions within the party. So we're still discussing that.
All right. The substitution provision and the omnibus election code was used and abused over the weekend. Should there be changes after next year's elections?
Well, Rico, me along with 4 other senators filed the bill to remove, as one of the grounds for substitution, voluntary withdrawal. Meaning substitution can happen only when somebody dies or somebody becomes incapacitated or disqualified, 3 grounds. But voluntary withdrawal should be removed as one of the grounds, because clearly, Rico, it's being used as a parking space, no, for candidates. And my fear is in the future, this will be abused and even made money off. We will probably see candidates who will file ahead of time and then sell their position. And we don't want this to be a bad precedent for the country.
Let's now take a look at the economy. Millions of Filipinos are still out of jobs, Senator Win. The economy remains weak and faces a long road towards recovery. If you're re-elected senator, how will you try to jumpstart the economy and create jobs through legislation?
True, Rico. Unemployment remains to be elevated at 8%. That's approximately about 4 million unemployed individuals. if my take on a fast recovery should be working capital should be ready for businesses, especially in tourism and small and micro businesses. Our economy will eventually swing back. But the problem is, because of the last 1 year, a lot of the working capitals of this company, especially in tourism, especially small and medium enterprises, have been depleted. Some of them operated, and some of them even did not shut down for the sake of their employees. But when the economy returns back to normal, they will not have enough capital to take advantage of that. So government should provide easy loans, should provide working capital that they can tap into and swing with the economy upwards.
Let's focus now on this issue of corruption. No? A lot of allegations taking place over the last few months and a couple of years. It is systemic in our bureaucracy. How should we fight it, Senator Win?
No, that's a very tough question, Rico. In fact, this morning I was in a forum. I said 3 things that will remain in our country for the next generations: no? Corruption, drugs, and poverty. We need to put the system and strengthen the institutions because this will be a long haul in terms of fighting poverty, fighting drugs, and even poverty. We need to make sure that institutions are strong and efficient. For example, I'll give you a very clear example. In terms of prosecuting and convicting corrupt officials, it should not take years. If you will convict officials and it will take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, nobody will believe in the system. Nobody will respect the system. We need to make sure that the turnaround is faster so we can penalize and we can punish corrupt officials, and that would send a strong signal to those who are intending to steal and to corrupt the system.
And we will continue our up-close conversation with Senator Win Gatchalian after a quick break. And
RPN Radio Philippines Network, DXKD Dipolo Radio Ronda. Buhagay sa Radio Ronda matag adlaw Sabado. Buhagay sa Radio Ronda. Ang buhagay sa Radio Ronda inyo nang mabati matag Sabado sa may alas 6 ngadto na sa alas 9 sa buntag.
Taliwala sa nagiagumang pandemya ning atong nasud karon, naninguha ang nasyonal nga pangagamhanan nga ipaabot sa kadaghanan ang mga tubag sa nagbaha nga mga pangutana kabahin sa kahintang sa tanang katawhan pinaagi na sa PCOO kun Presidential Communications Operations Office ni Secretary Martin Andanar. Laging handa! Programa sa tanang Sibyaanan nga mohatag katin-awan sa mga pangutana sa katawhan. Laging handa! Programang makahatag kasayuran sa benepisyo ug ayuda alang sa katawhan. Laging handa! Programang maghatod sa mga impormasyon kabahin sa pagpangandam ug mga gipatuman sa nasyonal nga pangagamhanan taliwala sa pandemyang COVID-19. Laging handa! Mapaminaw matag Lunes hangtod Sabado alas 11 ngadto alas 12 sa kaugtuhon. Diri lamang sa RPN DXKD Dipolog 1053 kHz sa atong mga AM radio bands o sa RPN DXKD Dipolog sa Facebook account. Magkahiusa kita aron mapakgang ang pagkuyanap sa COVID-19. Laging handa! Hatod ka nato sa Presidential Communications Operations Office kun PCOO.
DXKD Dipolo Radio Ronda.
this is the final word on CNN Philippines. I'm Rico Hizon, and still with us for tonight's Up Close before the Filipino votes is re-electionist Senator Sherwin Gatchalian. Senator, you mentioned that 3 issues that will stay with us for many years to come. One is corruption, the other one is poverty, and drugs. How should the new government fight this war on drugs? Should it continue to adopt an ironclad, no-nonsense anti-drug policy?
You have to approach it in two ways, no? I think the most simple equation there will be the demand and the supply side. I really believe that we should also put a lot of effort in the demand side. Go to our high schools, go to our schools and teach our students not to go into this very unproductive activities. And in Valenzuela, that's what we did. On the supply side, we need to deal it with an iron hand. I don't believe in dealing with drugs with this very soft approach. We need to make sure that we apprehend the bigger fish rather than the smaller fish on the streets. And we have to make sure that intelligence is also funded. This can only be arrested with A1 intelligence tracking down the bigger fish in the trade.
Questions for you, and you can only answer them with a yes or a no, and no explanation. My first question to you is...
That's a bit difficult task, Rico.
Yes or no? Do you favor easier public access to the statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth of the President,
Yes.
Vice President, and the members of Congress?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Do you support lifting foreign ownership limits in the Constitution?
Yes, but I have a qualification to that, but yes.
Do you favor the reimposition of the death penalty for drug-related crimes?
Yes, I agree with that.
Should a sitting president be allowed to run for senator in the next election?
Yes.
Do you favor resuming peace talks with communist rebels?
Yes.
And should the country be more aggressive in protecting its maritime interests in the West Philippine Sea?
Definitely.
Senator, your final word now on why our kababayan should re-elect you to the Senate for another 6 years.
Well, first of all, Rico, thank you for this opportunity, and I commit to our constituents that no single penny will be wasted in investing in this representation. I've enacted 15 bills, both in the energy sector and in the education sector, and I'll continue to work hard for the betterment of our country.
Thank you so much for joining us in our up-close conversation, Senator Sherwin Gatchalian.